It's a BumbleKast Mini, sponsored by Zai.
Topic of Sonic games outside of the typical genres like platformers and racing comes up often. I myself am a huge fan of interactive story games like the ones from Telltale, so I was wondering, how do you imagine a Telltale Sonic game would work? Would it be an opportunity to bring some more involved storytelling since usual gameplay mechanics are no longer a concern?
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know if it would be Sonic-centric, necessarily.
I could see it being something similar to Murder of Sonic, but with more, animation. Less of a just straight up visual novel and more. Just generally, Telltale games aren't just visual novels, but...
Yeah, there's some interactive gameplay, but
yeah,
it's much more slower paced. It's not like Twitch gaming.
Right.
Which, I mean, maybe if you did something fairly simple, like a half-pipe run or something, kind of like how, like you said, Murder of the Hedgehog has isometric runs. Maybe something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my knee-jerk reaction is to say move the focus to somebody that isn't Sonic, so that people don't assume you're going to do Sonic-like gameplay. But does that scare folks away from it because, it's a Sonic title that doesn't have Sonic in it? Bleh. I don't know. It would definitely be more narratively driven, to be sure. Shoot, that might even be a good way to adapt some of the IDW stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Since those are not necessarily built to be game-esque.
I want to see one starring the Diamond Cutters.
Yeah, maybe.
That'd be fun. Tangle will remember that. Jim Carrey said in some interviews that he saw Robotnik as a person who felt rejected by society and denied love, which is a big part of why he hates the innocent, fun-loving Sonic. One of the egg memos in Frontier seems to support that, with how bitter Eggy feels towards, presumably, his family for giving more attention to the late Maria instead of him. Would you say that Carrey's interpretation is compatible with how you see and write Eggman? By the way, the egg memo made me teary-eyed. How could you do that to me, Mr. Flynn?
I don't want to completely conflate movie Eggman with game Eggman, because there are differences. But I do feel like Mr. Carey's interpretation does carry some weight with modern Eggman.
Yeah.
Someone who just does not feel like he belongs, and so screw it, he'll make a place where he belongs at the expense of everybody else.
All right. I'm aware that you probably can't go into too many details at the time regarding this topic, but do you have any plans or ideas on how to integrate the events of Frontiers into the IDW timeline?
As of this recording, Evan Stanley is the lead writer on the IDW books, so it's more her wheelhouse. But in my discussions with her about how we would tackle these types of things, it's kind of like Frontiers happened. Once you see elements post-Frontier show up in the book, you can just assume Frontiers happened off screen.
And when would that be, Ian?
When you see Sage floating around, we're post-Frontiers.
Dr. Starline is easily one of my favorite Sonic characters, and his death hit me like a ton of bricks, especially for how brutal and sudden it was. Did you ever think there was any chance of redemption, or at least a more dignified end for the late platypus, or was he always fated to reach the bottom, both morally and literally?
Always intended. Allegorically, Starline is someone who embraced hatred, who willingly did bad things to other people for self-gain. He does not deserve a dignified death. And it is meant as something, again, allegorical, as a warning of, if you do associate yourself with hateful and destructive groups and organizations, you will suffer for it.
Yeah, unless you're Eggman, then it's okay.
Well, no, he has plot armor.
I mean, yes.
And he suffers plenty.
Eggman has franchise
armor. How many times
armor.
has he been blown up and been scorched? Come on.
True. Eggman gets away with things because it's funny when he does it. When Starline does it, it's terrifying and disgusting and ugh. The unthinkable happens. Sega, for whatever reason, decides it's time for the Sonic series to end and asks you to write a story that would serve as a definitive conclusion to the entire franchise. How would you approach this daunting task?
We've covered questions like this a few times, and it kind of comes down to, do you want to leave it open-ended, like the journey goes on forever, or do you want like an actual finite conclusion? And ultimately, I feel like the final story should be Sonic and Eggman's last confrontation. Huge stakes. Everything is on the table. Nothing is off limits. We're talking hyper states, super forms for everybody. Let's go full razzle dazzle. And if we want to end on the most positive possible note, I think Eggman suffers this defeat and says, I give up. Like, he threw everything at this last campaign and it didn't work. You can't do anything more than that. Fine. He accepts defeat and retires. And the world comes to peace.
Yeah. Sega won't let Eggman die, so I guess that's the best you can do, huh?
I mean, if we're talking about ending the franchise, like maybe he could get killed off, but I more prefer him being defeated spiritually by Sonic.
Yeah.
I don't want Sonic to have blood on his hands necessarily. I want Sonic to go, look, you're a bad guy doing bad things. Stop it. And instead of Eggman going, no, I'll get it right next time. It's fine. I'll stop.
I don't know if he could do that.
Well, I mean, if we're ending the series, we'll find a way to make that work.
I mean, it would be I know, but it's like as a character, it feels like it would be a real struggle for him.
Now that Sage is in the mix, maybe that tempers him a bit.
But maybe
other way. He has another way to fixate on. He has another direction in his life. Yeah,
but then you also said that Sage would just make him worse because he would turn into the parent from hell. So I mean, it could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the dynamic nature of the characters. You can take them in multiple directions. They aren't set in one direction necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, they are so much as currently the brand must perpetuate so that these are recognizable products.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking about an end game scenario where that goes out the window. You don't have to worry about maintaining the appearance, so you can actually take the next step and resolve things.
Yes. And we're not talking about a 4-issue series storyline end game or or an Avengers end game. No.
It's a chess term.
Just the word. Ian, if you got the task of writing is Sonic and Crash Bandicoot crossover, how would you approach it? What characters should interact and how?
I'm not super familiar with the Crash series. But, passing understanding, you've got your mad scientist, you have your capable protagonist, and you have your supporting cast. After I do my proper research, celebrate that. Have the mad scientists team up, have the two spinning animal characters have their inevitable clash to satisfy the need for the Sakuga, but then they team up and proceed to be very cool together, and then have the supporting cast bounce off each other, in fun ways, mix and match. What can Tails do with Crash that's a bit different? And what can someone in Crash's group do with Sonic that's a bit different? What are the similarities between the two? What are the differences? And highlight and play with both.
Yeah. Tails and Coco would be wholesome. That would be a fun dynamic. They're both tech buds. Crash does not really talk much, so that could be interesting. I wouldn't want Crash to talk anyway. It doesn't fit him. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't want him to like he says things, but they're not like it's more like Mario. Like Mario doesn't say much. Yeah, so but it could still work. And Coco's there. Coco's like his translator, I suppose.
And Sonic talks enough for anybody, so
yeah.
He can fill in the silence.
Yeah, pretty much. It wouldn't be a problem, but it's just kind of like, I'm thinking about it. Like, yeah. Crash is mostly villains, though. Yeah, that's what I'm reminded of. Like, most of the cast is villains, so that can be interesting.
Okay, well, then basically recycle the Egg Boss premise, but now it's Eggman augmenting Crash's rogues gallery.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Would
what is the signature gimmick to each of these villains, and how do you mechanize that?
Some of them are already mechanical-ish or mechanized in some way. So you can
on that.
Yeah.
What arsenal do they have that can get an Eggman flair to it?
Yeah, and Entropy and Engine with Eggman would be... You'd have to deal with them. He would hate them, I think. But him and Cortex might get along. At least to start. So, but Eggman would hate Entropy. Absolutely. Yes, I'm definitely with you on that one, chat. Engine might be okay. Anyway, with how much character development or important event characters like Shadow, Team Dark, Silver, Blaze, and Sonic got in 06, I always liked the headcanon that even though the events of that game got erased from the timeline, characters themselves still remember them. I'd gladly remove Rivals 1 from canon. What is your take on this?
They don't.
Nope.
Sonic might. That's kind of nebulous. Silver and Blaze have some inkling that something happened, but they don't know what. Everybody else has no idea. History got rebooted and the adventure never happened, so they do not remember the events.
Kind of a shame, but also not.
But also, your headcanon can be whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you want to interpret the media your way, I ain't going to stop you.
Yeah. Don't let Ian stop you. Don't let Ian Flynn tell you how to live your life.
And at the same time, don't tell me I'm wrong because your headcanon doesn't sync with the official material. That's not how it works.
But Ian, you are wrong.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
The Sonic games and media had many different art styles over the years, and with how other platform icons recently went into some bold art directions, like Crash and Crash 4 or Mario and Wonder, what would you guys like to see from Sonic? Cell shading, more realism, more cartooniness, not changing anything?
I want my classic game in the animation style of the Sonic CD intro. Like full animated sprites.
Yeah.
Like you are running around on an animation cell. I want that look. I want that style. I want that attitude. I want it.
Yes.
I want to be playing a cartoon.
I want the Sonic Boom music to be playing in the background too. Please do it. Bring back Pastiche. Why won't Silver simply go back in time and kill Baby Robotnik? Is he stupid?
I don't think Silver 1 would kill a baby. Even if it meant saving a timeline. I don't think he can bring himself to do that. 2, he doesn't have control over his time travel. So it's not up to him.
No. Yeah. Maybe it would be worse. Like he'd go back and do it and it would just end up being worse. I don't know. Be wild though. Anyway, I'm not going to read this last one.
Okay.
Should I? I mean, do we really need to sit there and talk about how great we are?
I mean, did they want us to read this, or was it just a personal
I think it's just a personal note.
Okay.
Yeah. We much appreciate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll share it in the chat for you guys. So, there you go. There's no question there. Anyway, that's it. That's all we got.
Yeah, thank you to Zai for sponsoring this BumbleKast Mini. If you want one of your own, head over to patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, or become a YouTube member. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we will see you next time on the BumbleKast.
Take care, everybody.